Yes, I realize Pew's behind me. I'm too sensitive to grab him and throw him off. I guess he's just going to be a part of this episode. Sorry, folks.
Almost everything. Production.
I have some bad news for you all. One of our cast members, Bryan Wright, has decided to leave the Almost Everything channel after about 7 episodes, and he's going off to pursue a career in music in Pittsburgh. And he's been a good friend of this show, and also of me. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time, and we're really all very sorry to see him go, and we wish him the best of luck. But I do want to look on a brighter side, and I've decided to do something that's been requested for a long time now. I'm going to decide the top 5 characters. No rules here from any medium. And I personally think that characters are the most important part of a story, so this is a big list for me. And I'm going to be accompanied by one of the greatest characters on this show, Timbo, the talking banana. So Timbo, let's decide who is the best character of all. Longtime fans of this show might know, when I was a kid, the only thing we had to watch was a VHS tape of old Andy Griffith episodes. And I probably watched that hundreds of times. But yes, I've always been a big fan of Mayberry and Aunt Bee and Opie and Floyd. And I decided to put Barney Fife on this list. And it's probably just for personal reasons, but I do think it's somewhat justified. Barney Fife was the reason why I think Andy Griffith's show was so popular. I don't think without him it would have been. Although it did do well after he left the show, but I think he was the reason it became popular to begin with. And he's also kind of responsible for that sensitive character, the one that's just too big for their own britches. I feel like Barney Fife kind of created that archetype. So maybe just for the memory of Don Knotts, Barney Fife is 5. Alright, so this next one, I should mention there are multiple interpretations of how to pronounce this way. Believe me, I have scoured the internet. Different people say it different way. This is the way that I'm going to say it, but I believe that it is pronounced Ivan Karamazov. Ivan Karamazov, and that is at least pretty close. But I did once mention that I thought this character was a lot like myself. And I do believe there is a degree of truth to that, but it isn't the entire truth. I think his character is kind of like everyone that doesn't really believe in things. And it's weird because of all the characters that Dostoevsky made, it's the one that's actually kind of sane that ended up being the most interesting. I think that there's just something about him that we're all able to relate to. And I really wish there would have been a sequel to the brothers Karamazov. I think it would have been very interesting to see where the character would have gone from there, from being in love. But there wasn't, so I think the whole world suffers for it, but hey, what do you do? Some of you might remember from a past top 5 list that Hamlet is my favorite Shakespeare play. And Hamlet is also one of my favorite characters. There's a lot of theories about this guy. Some say he's mad, some say that he's actually more sane than anyone else. Some say that he's a Greek hero, an anti-hero, and a villain. I'm not sure about whether he's mad or not, but I'm a big fan of the idea that he's a Greek hero. In fact, I just don't think there's any doubt about it. It's pretty obvious. He's trying to save all of Denmark, but his one flaw is that he's unwilling to act. He's unwilling to kill Claudius. Now, I'm not saying that I will ever do an Alone Shakespeare again, but if I do, it will probably be The Taming of the Shrew. But then, I'm going to do Hamlet. Maybe. Don Quixote is one of the greatest accomplishments of mankind. I would put it with the moon landing and scientific discoveries, the iPhone. I'd put him right up there with that. It is that good. It is so good anyone can read it and anyone can enjoy it from any age. And Don Quixote is one of the greatest characters of all time, too. In fact, I was tempted to put him as number one, but I think there's just one more character that might beat him. But I think one of the things that's interesting about his character is it's hard to tell whether or not the fantasy of him is real or not. On the one hand, it does seem like there might be some truth to it. He does win a fight, a jousting fight, with one of the characters, and then he wins another one, although that's a little bit more complicated. And he just seems to be very wise throughout the entire book, but everyone is considering him a fool. So the question that has to be asked is whether it's better to be wise when everyone else considers you to be a fool, or to be a fool that everyone considers wise. So that's my little bit of Don Quixoteism. And I don't think there's going to be too much controversy about my number one pick, Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, there really was no question about this. I think the thing about his character is that he's such a mystery. And it's kind of fitting, he being a detective, that the greatest mystery to be solved would be himself. But what is Sherlock Holmes exactly? Is he a loner? Is he a group person? You'd think he was a loner. He's always in the house by himself playing the violin. But on the other hand, every character that Watson meets is introduced to him by Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes seems to have been a friend of that person. Is Sherlock Holmes an asexual, a bisexual, or a homosexual? There seems to be evidence for all three. How smart exactly is he? On the one hand, he seems to be really good with deduction and like rocks and minerals and stuff like that. But on the other hand, he didn't really realize that the Earth revolves around the sun. And, of course, maybe the biggest thing about him is that we just seem to think that he's this almost like heroic figure, that he's this otherworldly presence, but he actually does have a family. He has a brother, and there's some evidence that he might have like a sister, and probably a father and a mother, but we just don't really know that much about them. So we know he's a real person, but there's such a fantastical element that we don't really want to believe that he is a real person. So I just love all of these traits. I love how this character was crafted. I don't think any other character has ever been crafted as well as Sherlock Holmes. And that's why he makes the number one. Of course, Banana's pretty cool too. Banana, take us home. Go ahead.